Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Mama Mott. This is Otto, who plans to join me today, I see. Today we are going to go through my kids' pajama drawer while I tell you my birth story of my son Fritz, which was unmedicated on accident. So let's hop into today's video. Alrighty guys, this is my video when it comes to my unmedicated birth. So my first birth with Delaney, if you haven't seen that video, I have posted that birth story. My birth with Delaney was medicated, meaning I had an epidural. And then for my son Fritz, I accidentally did not have an epidural. So we will talk all about that and how that accident happened. But I will be going through my kids' pajama drawer today because they are in that stage where they are outgrowing the sizes that they're in. And Delaney's kind of like in the middle of a 2T, 3T, and Fritz is just a little sprout, and he's almost in a 2T now, or he's basically in a 2T because his 18-month pajama shirts are really hard to take off. So what I'm doing is going through their pajamas, taking out the ones that are too small and putting them away. I am very fortunate enough to have my sister-in-law who gave birth to my nephew 6 months after Delaney was born. And so she passes a lot of things down to us. And so I will be doing the same for one of my brothers who is expecting a baby boy later this year. And so I'm just putting things away for him. And things that are like too dingy, I'll just let them pick through it. But you always want to give family or friends the options if you can. So yeah, that's what we'll be doing during today's video. But yeah, let the rant continue. So Fritz was born in August of 2021. Delaney was born in February of 2020. So they're about 18 months apart, very close together, in my opinion, but that's nor here nor there. But basically, with Delaney, I made it to almost 9 centimeters before my epidural. So I felt like, I could feel the pain. I know what to expect this labor. And so I had my head wrapped all around the fact of that, right? So we're going through the motions of everything leading up to Fritz's due date. And for me, because, it's America, I basically work up until my due date, or like a week before my due date, I usually take off. And so that's what I did with Fritz too. So Fritz actually was born the day before his due date, and Delaney was born the day after her due date. So my babies like to stay in for the full 40 weeks, basically. But it was about 5:30 in the morning, and I started feeling contractions, and it woke me up. And then I couldn't really go back to sleep. So I was like, "Ooh, what are we doing here, body?" And so with that, I was like, okay, this may be the thing. So I started timing them. They're about 17 to 15 minutes apart or so, still far apart. So I didn't wake anyone up, didn't alarm anyone. And so just continued to let the family sleep and everything. And then it was probably about 9 a.m., 8:30, 9 a.m. when everyone woke up, which, I mean, everyone, Jordan and Delaney. Little Jordan was, where was she? She was at her mom's. So she was at school that day. So she was at her mom's. And so she was at school because it was a Friday. And then, so Jordan and Delaney wake up, and I'm like, yeah, I think today's the day. So we need to kind of get things moving or whatever. Y'all, when I say get things moving, my husband, I guess he just felt like, everything was so calm with Delaney's birth because he, again, wasn't here when I went into labor. This dude went and sat on the toilet and listened to music for like 20 minutes. I'm like, dude, I said I was in labor. So, anyways, we call his mom because his parents live like 15 minutes from us. And so we already knew the plan was if I were to go into labor while we were around here, then my in laws would take Delaney. And so that's what we did. We took Delaney over to my mother in law's, and I have the cutest video, but I'm not going to post it here because it shows like my in law's house and my mother in law and stuff. And I don't know if she wants to be on YouTube. And Delaney's like waving by, and it's so cute. And so by the time we got Delaney over there, it was probably about 10:30 that morning. And so I'm still having contractions, but I'm fine. Just timing them still about 12 to 15 minutes apart. So not too, alarming, but we wanted to kind of head the way to the hospital because everyone tells you like your second baby comes quicker and all of that kind of jazz, right? So didn't want to take any, wanted to take all the precautions that we could or whatever I'm trying to say. So we did that. So when we're getting closer to the hospital, I'm like, I feel like the contractions are slowing down. And I wasn't really feeling them as strong. And I was like, oh no, I really hope this isn't like a false alarm type of thing. And like I said in my first birth story video with Delaney, I just didn't want to get sent home because when you're at that point where you're like, okay, it's go time, you're ready. You don't want to go back home. It's like, do what you got to do so we can get this baby out. And so with that, Jordan and I decided to go walking. But before that, y'all know where my husband takes us? Costco. We go to Costco. Like, what do we need out here right now? So he goes and gets gas. Why? I don't know. We go to Costco, get gas or whatever. I can't remember if we went in or not, but we probably did. Who knows? Went to Costco, did all that, whatever. Or went and got gas or whatever. So then I was like, okay, I feel like we need to do a little bit more walking. So we went to the mall because the mall is like maybe 10 minutes from the hospital. So we went and walked around the mall. I think we walked for maybe like an hour around the mall, just to kickstart those contractions back up, and it worked. So it was really funny because I was obviously very, very pregnant, walking very slow. And we were in one of the furniture stores, and my husband was looking at like this lounger or something. And I sat down, and then I was like doing some breathing techniques. And the guy was like, "Oh, are you about to have the baby?" Like jokingly. And then my husband was like, "Yeah, she's in labor right now." And the guy was like, "Okay." I think we scared him. But I was fine. So then we were at the gosh, can't even think, at the mall for about an hour, walking and doing all that kind of stuff. And then when we made it to the hospital, because I had already called the hospital or called my doctor, they had already called the hospital and all that kind of stuff. So then we were on the way to the hospital. And my doctor called me and was like, "Hey, I thought you were going to the hospital today." And I was like, "Yeah, the contractions slowed down, but we're about to be there." And he's like, "Okay, cool." Because again, he knows this was my second birth, didn't want to, not make it to the hospital, and he just wanted to make sure I was safe. So made it to the hospital. They checked me. Y'all, I was 3 centimeters. I was so upset. I was so upset. I'm not even gonna lie. My feelings were hurt. I was like 3 centimeters. Okay, 3 centimeters. So that was probably about, by the time they got me in, checked in, I'm in the bed or in the room and everything. It was probably about 12:30, 12:45. 3 centimeters. Great. Okay. So then they're like, okay, but you can still stay, like, you're in early labor, so you can stay. And then we get down to, I think it was probably about maybe 4 o'clock, and my doctor comes and he checks me again, Again, still no progress, still around 3 centimeters, but he was not on call that day because, again, it was Friday. And so then I was like, oh no. So he introduced me to the on call doctor, and she was like, okay, I'll come and check on you in a little while, blah, blah, blah. So then I would say it's probably about 7 o'clock. I get checked again. And at this point, don't mind my kids wearing Christmas pajamas. They will wear them until they're too small. Okay. Anyways, so then she checks me around 7 or so, and I'm barely progressed, and I'm like close to 4 centimeters. And they really gave me the option. They were like, okay, look, this isn't your first birth. You know what to feel. You know how to listen to your body. You can either choose to stay or you can go home and come back, whichever is most comfortable for you. And I was like, I don't know about all that going home. Mind you, I don't live like 10, 15 minutes from the hospital. Our house is a good 30 minutes, and we're in Atlanta. So Atlanta traffic is unpredictable. And if you remember from my first video, when they kept asking me about the pressure in the bum, yeah, I was feeling that pressure, but I wasn't very heavily dilated or very highly dilated. I don't know. I wasn't dilated that much, but I was already feeling that pressure during my contractions. And I was like, I think I'm going to stay because I'm feeling that pressure. And that kind of scares me. So I think I'm going to stay there. Like, okay, that's fine. Stay. It's your choice. Get comfortable or whatever. So then around 8:30, 9 o'clock rolls around, and I tell my husband, like, hey, she can eat. Like, you can go buy her something to eat. Bring her some dinner or something because it's probably going to be a long night. Perfect. Now, if y'all remember from my first video, Jordan was trying to get back from Colombia. So this time he went to go get something to eat. I think that just, if I were to have more kids, if I just want, my babies to come out, I'm just going to tell Jordan to leave because clearly that's when things happen. So Jordan leaves to go get me something to eat. And my nurse was like, or the doctor was like, take a warm shower. It'll maybe kickstart some things, blah, blah, blah. Y'all, I got in that shower. Oh, Jesus. That's all I could call on was Jesus. It was extreme. Like, the contractions came, like, they just came. I don't know where they were before that, but they were not as intense. It got so intense in that shower, and I couldn't reach the little nurse call button. I didn't have the monitor on me anymore, so they didn't know that I was having these contractions. Y'all, I was stuck in the shower for a good 20, maybe 30 minutes. And then by the time I got out the shower and the nurse comes in the room, I'm sitting on the floor, holding on to the bed for dear life, breathing in a squat. And she was like, Mama, what's going on? What happened? I didn't have the monitors on anymore, so she didn't know that I was having these strong contractions in there. And then she had came into the room right before I came out the shower. She was like, oh, she's still in the shower relaxing. Baby, I was not relaxing. I was far from relaxed. I was in there dying. All right, sorry if the camera, that's rude. Sorry if the camera angle changed. I had a phone call. So anyway, so yes, the nurse came into the room, hooked me back onto the monitor, and my contractions were like 2 minutes apart. It was intense. And then my husband finally shows back up. I'd say it was probably like almost 10 o'clock. And he was like, yeah, nothing was open. He's just coming there talking. I was trying to find something to eat and blah, 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 blah. Mind you, I am in full-blown labor, y'all. He's over here trying to put this sandwich in my face. And I'm like, can you get that sandwich out of my face? He was like, you told me to make sure you eat. He's calling everybody in the family on FaceTime because it's during COVID, so no one could be there, talking to people, got people on speakerphone. And I'm like, sir, please stop. But anyways, a little after 10 comes the nurse. I'm like, epidural. Like, what are we doing? Like, where's my epidural? So, mind you, I said it in my first video. Before you can get your epidural, you have to get a certain amount of fluid via an IV before you can get your epidural. My sweet little nurse, she could not get the IV in my hand. So then she tried my arm. She couldn't get it in my arm. She was like, okay, let me go get one of my lead nurses, my charge nurse, to come help me. I guess the floor was really busy that night. It took forever for somebody to come in. I think it's close to like 10:30 at this point. I look up. It looks like 10 nurses are in the room. I don't even know. I am in excruciating pain. Excruciating. Don't let people lie to you. Childbirth is a beautiful, beautiful thing. But when you don't have those pain meds, it hurts. Can you do it? Yes. But can you also do it with pain meds? Yes. So pick your poison when it comes to that. But, as a person who's now done both, that's all I got to say. So then I'm like, where's my epidural? Where's my epidural? And then one of the lady goes, it is too late. Huh? I mean, I felt like time stood still. I was like, I'm sorry, what? It was so intense. It was so crazy. I felt the ring of fire. Mind you, I'm still in my robe. Like, I didn't even get to get undressed. Like, I was still in my robe from being in the shower and stuff, like my personal robe. I mean, he's coming. I was like, he's coming. With Delaney, I don't remember feeling the ring of fire, but with Fritz, definitely felt it. Warning, this may be a little graphic, but for those that want to know, ring of fire is a perfect phrase to call it. I felt like heat was rising from my feet all the way up my body. I was sweating. I was like, I'm hot. I'm hot. I like yanked my robe off. I still had a bra on, and I felt like I was just sweating. And then after that, he started crowning, and I was like, he's coming. And one of the nurses was like, don't push. And I was like, I will try not to. And then after a few seconds, I was like, he's coming. I gotta push. I gotta push. I hear one lady says, where's the doctor? Another nurse says, she's coming. She's running down the hall. And then I was like, I have to push. I have to push. And I hear the doctor in the back, like by the door in the back of the front of the room or whatever. And she's like, Mama, if you have to push, push. And I didn't see this, obviously, but my husband said that the doctor didn't even get fully dressed. Like, they usually like put them in their gown and blah, blah, blah. Her gown was like was on one sleeve. And she was running over to catch the baby. Running over. I had to get him out because, again, I had no medicine, so I couldn't even focus on my breathing at that point. I do remember saying, I can't do this. And my husband said, yes, you can. Hold on to me. And I remember his arm. My husband's 6'2", I'm 5'1", so my husband's very big compared to me. His arm was across my shoulders like this, and I just remember holding onto his arm, his forearm, and just bearing down. And I kept saying out loud, my body was made to do this. My body was made to do this. And the nurses were like, yes, it is. Yes, it is. And that's all I kept repeating to myself was like, my body was made to do this. My body was made to do this. And I was like, talking to the baby, like, we got this, little boy. We got this. Like, it's me and you. We got this. I literally was saying all of this out loud. Like, my body is made to do this. My body is made to do this. And I was just like breathing and pushing and breathing and pushing. Y'all, I thought I was pushing for a long time. I pushed for 5 minutes. And he was out. 3 big pushes. And he was out. He was born at 10:55. Completely natural, healthy. Healthy baby boy. I did have to get a full episiotomy, which I did feel, but that felt like a paper cut. I don't even know if it felt like a paper. It felt like someone pitched me compared to the other things that was going through my body, the adrenaline and all of that. Yeah. And then it was funny because after he was born, the shakes were so bad this time. Like I had them a little bit with Delaney, but maybe because I had an epidural and medication, it didn't feel as much. But this time, I mean, I was visibly like this. I remember saying to my nurse, like, whoo, I would hate to be on, because if this is what, you know, withdrawals feel like, I wouldn't be able to do it. It's so bad. But yeah, that's how Fritz was born. We were out of the hospital 2 days later, and he met his sisters. When we got home, they were head over heels. Um, a lot of people ask me, did Delaney have any problems adjusting? Um, I would say not really, because she was still such a baby as well. She was only 18 months. So I just treated it like I had two babies. I didn't give her responsibilities. I didn't say things to her like, no, I need to do this first. Like I would tend to her as much as I would tend to him. And so I think that's why they've adjusted so well together, and they love each other for the most part, I think. And then of course LJ is just the best big sister of all time, and it's always taking on her duties of holding and feeding and like just being a great big sister. She's so good. But yeah, that was Fritz's birth story. Even though it was a little dramatic and traumatic, probably to some people, I am really happy to know that I can give birth naturally. Obviously, I know we can, but just doing it felt really nice. If I have the option and if I were to go for another child, if I had the choice between epidural or no, I would choose epidural again, because I just don't think that trauma of the pain was worth it when it comes to like recovery or anything. I didn't have a different recovery than I had with Delaney when I had an epidural. Literally. I was up walking after I had Delaney in like an hour. Fritz, I could have walked 2 minutes after, but I also had a full episiotomy, so I wasn't trying to walk around, you know? So that's just my personal opinion, but I hope this was helpful to you if you are pregnant, to hear another birth story. And hopefully, some of these signs and symptoms can help you when it's time for you to give birth. And I know when I was pregnant, I just enjoyed listening to people's birth stories. So I hope you enjoyed this. I'll see you guys in the next video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video with your friends and your mommy groups. Talk to you later. Bye.